Hi, my name is David. I'm going to speak to you about part one of the speaking part of the CertAcles B2 exam. How long is part one? It's about 3 minutes. It's the first 3 minutes of the exam. It will be slightly longer if there's a group of 3, so that would be 4 minutes. Okay, so what happens in part one? The examiner will ask you and your partner some questions separately, and you reply to the examiner. You'll alternate between you and the other candidate. You don't have to talk to your partner in this part of the exam. There's no interaction really, apart from you and the examiner. Listen to what your partner says, but you won't be asked about what they are talking about. So what do they usually ask you about in this part of the exam? Okay, well, topics vary, but they will be what we call within your field of interest, things that you have personal experience of. So it would be your free time, your hobbies, the sports you do. Maybe they'll ask you about your work or your education or your studies. They'll ask you perhaps about your friends, about your family and what you do usually with them at weekends or something like that. They'll ask you about travel, about holidays. They'll ask you about entertainment, perhaps. What happens if you don't understand the question you're asked? Well, always politely ask the examiner to repeat it. The examiner will not rephrase the question, will not answer any vocabulary questions. All they will do is repeat the question again, perhaps slower or more clearly if it wasn't clear. And you can ask the examiner, for example, please could you repeat that? Or could you say that again, please? In a polite way, and that will be fine. It won't affect your mark if you have to ask the examiner to repeat something. That's fine. It's all part of normal discourse. Okay, so part one is the beginning of the exam, but it is marked. Remember that. It's all part of your exam. Okay? However, it's also a chance to get to know the other candidate, their voices, and the examiner. And it's a chance to make an impression. Okay, this is the first time the assessor will be hearing you speak. They won't make up their mind in part one, but if you can make a good impression in part one, of course, that will be positive. Questions are always about everyday topics. You should have the skills to talk about these things. So relax, answer the questions, and try to make this good impression. Don't overthink it, okay? Just concentrate on answering the questions in a natural way. Okay, you don't need a long answer, but you must extend more than just yes/no answers. So, for example, look at this. Do you enjoy eating in restaurants? No. Or, no, I prefer to eat at home because I enjoy cooking and spending time with my friends and family. So if you just answer yes or no, you're not giving them the language to mark. Okay, so be careful with that. Don't answer just short answers. Try to extend, try to give examples. Here are some typical questions. Do you prefer to stay in or go out in the evenings? Have your hobbies changed since you were a child? What were your favorite subjects when you were at school? Do you think it's a good idea to work or study abroad? Have you ever used English while on holiday? Tell us about it. Do you prefer to go on holiday in a small group or a large group? What qualities are important in a friend? So these are some typical questions. I mean, you may not get these questions, but these are some typical questions. There'll be questions like this. So you know the typical subjects, so prepare some specific vocabulary. Don't prepare long sentences. Don't prepare any answers that you've memorized. It won't sound fluent. The question might be slightly different. This might confuse you. It never works. But what you can prepare is the vocabulary. Remember, you want to show a range of vocabulary. You know you're going to be asked about entertainment, about sports, about hobbies, about family, about work, about education. So if you've got the vocabulary for this, it will help you. An example there is, you may be asked about the media, so the word broadcast, a broadcast, a television broadcast or radio, tabloid, a type of newspaper, rolling news, fake news, these type of things could be useful, okay? Also think about the sort of things you need to express. You're going to say, I like or I don't like, but if you just repeat that all the time, you're not showing a range of language. So you could say, what I enjoy is, I have an interest in, I would go for, I'm keen on, are different examples. How can I practice for this part of the test? Well, you can practice with another student of the same level and give each other feedback. Okay, or somebody who can give you feedback. If you're practicing on your own, you can record yourself. Think of some of the questions you've seen here or other similar questions and record yourself answering the questions. But remember, don't just learn whole chunks of language and sentences to just repeat verbatim. It won't help you. Okay, well, thank you. And now we're going to see some other parts of the exam.